Iron Man 3 takes us on a thrilling journey with Tony Stark, who faces a new kind of enemy, the Mandarin, while dealing with personal demons and the aftermath of the Avengers battle. This action-packed installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe blends Tony's wit, resourcefulness, and character development into a gripping story that showcases his resilience beyond the Iron Man suit. The movie begins with Tony Stark talking about how we make our own problems. In a flashback to New Year's Eve 1999, Tony meets a scientist named Maya Hansen in Switzerland. He snubs Aldrich Killian, who has a project called AIM. Maya is working on plant research that can change DNA and potentially cure incurable diseases and paralysis, although it's somewhat controversial. In 2012, Tony Stark, who is haunted by the events in New York City from The Avengers, has been building numerous Iron Man suits. He's working on a modular suit called Mark 42, where all the pieces can fly to him and reassemble. In a humorous scene set to Jingle Bells, Tony dances while trying to get the suit to work, ignoring safety measures. It doesn't go well, and the suit shatters, with his AI, Jarvis, having an "I told you so" moment. Tony Stark talks about encountering a new terrorist called the Mandarin on TV. The Mandarin claims responsibility for bombing a U.S. military station in Kuwait, which killed soldiers' families. President Ellis's response is mocked as he decides to rebrand the Mark 8 suit worn by Colonel James Rhodes as the Iron Patriot. In a restaurant, Tony asks Rhodes about the Mandarin. Rhodes reveals that there have been more bombings than the public knows about. He's now using the Mark 8 as the Iron Patriot. They agree the name is bad. Kids ask for Tony's autograph, and he jokes about a boy in A Christmas Story. When the boy asks about his escape from the New York wormhole, Tony panics, rushes to his Iron Man suit, and Jarvis explains he's having a severe anxiety attack. Pepper Potts meets with Aldrich Killian, who has improved physically and wants Stark Industries' support for his project called Advanced Idea Mechanics, AIM. AIM is focused on Extremis, a biological experiment that enhances human DNA using untapped brain potential. Pepper declines funding because of potential weaponization concerns. Happy Hogan now works as the security chief at Stark Industries, but annoys most people with his badge rule. Pepper arrives home to find a big stuffed bunny as a gift from Tony. However, Tony is absorbed in work, and she's greeted by a remote-controlled Iron Man suit, which upsets her. Tony is struggling with PTSD and is experimenting with new suits. Tony confesses his turmoil since the New York incident. At night, one suit surprises them, leading to Tony dismantling it. Pepper, frustrated, sleeps downstairs. Happy follows one of Killian's men, Eric Savon, to a theater where an explosion occurs, leaving Happy comatose. The Mandarin claims responsibility. Tony, furious and frustrated, visits Happy in the hospital and issues a public challenge to the Mandarin, providing his home address, daring him to attack. Tony then smashes a reporter's recorder and tells the reporters to send him the bill. While analyzing the attack on the theater, Tony notices military dog tags with the name Jack Taggart. This leads him to investigate a similar incident in Tennessee involving a soldier named Chad Davis. Tony decides to check it out and creates a flight path for his Iron Man suit. However, he's interrupted by Dr. Maya Hansen, who warns him about danger. During their conversation, the house is attacked by disguised helicopter gunships. Tony protects Pepper and Maya but loses power, and the house falls into the sea, causing Tony to pass out. Tony wakes up in his suit, falling from the sky, and crashes in a snowy forest near Rose Hill, Tennessee. He's frustrated, but remembers he asked for the flight plan. With no power left, Jarvis shuts down. Tony walks to a gas station, calls Pepper, and borrows a poncho from a store mannequin. Tony hides in an empty house to fix his damaged suit. He meets a curious boy named Harley, who helps him. Tony's calling himself the mechanic and has anxiety about New York. Pepper, back at the ruined mansion, discovers a message confirming Tony's survival. Tony and Harley bond, thinking the boy is bullied, and Tony gets Jarvis back online using a HUD display he made. Tony investigates the bombing with Harley and notices 5 shadows representing the victims. He meets Chad Davis's mother at a bar but is ambushed by Killian's agent, Ellen Brandt. He defeats Brandt by causing an explosion, propelling her into a telephone wire, causing her to be electrocuted. He is then confronted by Savon, but with Harley's assistance, they overcome him. Tony takes Saban's car and, while driving, the Mandarin threatens to murder an oil company accountant on live TV unless the president contacts him. Despite the call, the murder happens. Rhodes goes to the Middle East to find the Mandarin as ordered by the president, but finds nothing. Tony contacts Rhodes and asks for help. Tony sneaks into a beauty pageant's camera van to investigate documents he found. He discovers the bombs are linked to the extremist program, making unstable soldiers explode. This was covered up as a terrorist plot. Rhodes tracks the Mandarin but is ambushed, and his suit is stolen by Killian's agents. Tony traces the Mandarin's IP address to Miami, Florida. Using an assortment of makeshift weapons purchased from a hardware store, Harley's distinctive potato gun, Tony successfully breaches the estate headquarters. He discovers the Mandarin is actually a British actor named Trevor Slattery, clueless about the terrorist acts. Tony is captured, and Maya discloses that she had been collaborating with Killian, believing that Tony could assist in refining the extremist DNA. Killian reveals he has kidnapped Pepper and infused her with extremists. Killian eliminates Maya after she confronts him with a threat to inject herself and sacrifice her life to secure Tony's release. Subsequently, Killian approached Rhodes, effectively forcing him out of his suit and dispatching it to the president without realizing that Savon was the one inside the suit. Tony escapes captivity by remotely summoning his Mark 42 suit, reuniting with Rhodes. They learn that Aldrich plans to attack President Ellis on Air Force One. The Iron Patriot suit with the president flies away. Although the Mark 42 lacks full flight power, Iron Man heads to the plane, kills Savon, and saves the survivors. However, the suit breaks apart when a tuck hits it, revealing Tony was controlling it remotely. Tony and Rhodes track Aldrich at a Miami shipyard, where he plans to kill Ellis on live TV. It is also revealed that the vice president is under Killian's command, making him his puppet leader after he executes the president. The vice president agrees to follow Killian's orders because Killian promises to use extremists to cure his young girl's disability. As Rhodes and Tony are surrounded by extremist armies, Tony deploys an army of diverse Iron Man suits through the house party protocol. Tony goes to save Pepper, while Rhodes rescues the president. Pepper survived extremists, but seemingly dies in an accident. Tony fights Aldrich with multiple suits and traps him in one that self-destructs. However, Aldrich survives. Pepper, now with extremist powers, defeats the weakened Aldrich, revealing that he was the real Mandarin, and the attacks were carried out by extremist experiments. After the battle, Tony destroys his Iron Man suits with the clean slate protocol to focus on Pepper. The vice president and Slattery are arrested. Tony removes his chest piece, eliminating his need for it, and tosses it into the sea. He realizes he'll always be Iron Man, even without the armor. Happy Hogan regains consciousness from being comatose. Tony gives Harley a new lab and a potato gun, promising Iron Man will return, and leaves a thank you note signed as the mechanic. In a post-credits scene, Tony Stark shares his story with Dr. Bruce Banner, who fell asleep at the start. The scene ends with the words, "Tony Stark will return," and the movie ends here. Thank you for watching, and I highly recommend watching the entire movie as it is incredibly enjoyable. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel, so you can stay updated and receive notifications whenever we upload new videos.